It's gone. I don't know. What's happening? It's your boy Mark Henry back on the On Your Mark show. Powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. Every play I compete. Do you just wake up and go hard? Be epic. We have a new studio home, Fishbowl Studios. The On Your Mark show is going to bring it to you every Wednesday. Every week we're going to talk recruiting, the best games around the state, and in the DFW. We'll get parents, players, coaches involved right here at Fishbowl Studios. Wednesday from 11 to 12. You can follow us on Facebook at On The Mark Sports, on Twitter at MarkHen44, on IG, Instagram at MarkHen_44. We are epic every week. Check out the On Your Mark show at Fishbowl Studios. We out. What it do? What's happening? It's your boy Mark Henry back on the On Your Mark show from Fishbowl Studios on the Fishbowl Radio Network. We got a great one for you today. As usual, I got my co-host, Coach Jay, Stephon Johnson from Epic Sports Apparel. Our sponsor, every play I compete, I just wake up and go hard. We got my girl, Wendy.
What's
to
up,
come
everybody?
in and talk today. And, of course, my guy, Scott Rapp from Prep Red Zone, Texas, and Prep Red Zone. What's up, Scott?
What's up, what's up?
Man, let's dive into it. So, we're going to talk a little bit about off-season now. High school season, the playoffs are about to start. This is the last week for everybody that's not making the playoffs. You know, a real focus should be the off-season, recovery, things like that, what you should be doing. Coach, we'll start with you first. Let's talk seniors first, okay? Those guys that are not committed, those guys that have flown under the radar, what should they be doing when this is all said and done if they're not making the playoffs?
Well, for one, if they have offers, the major thing is start getting your official visits in order. Schedule that out. You know, stay in touch. Keep those relationships open with the coaches that are recruiting you. Schedule, you know, your unofficial. Stay on media. Talk about your season. You know, stay in shape. Don't get out of shape. A lot of guys may graduate in January. You don't want to go to school out of shape. If you're not transitioning into track, which I believe you should, definitely transition into track. If you're not going to school in January, run track. If you're a lineman, you know, throw the shot put, discus, do whatever you can do to stay in shape. Get your speed up, keep your speed up, stay in shape. Track is it. And if you are, you know, one of the guys that have not been recruited or don't have offers, you know, keep pounding the pavement. The key is cast a big net. Send out questionnaires every single day, 100, 200, send letters, send postcards, send whatever you can do to these coaches so that you can get on the radar. Then start looking at senior camps. You know, if you have to go out of state, go fund me, do whatever you got to do to go to the smaller schools, the bigger schools, and also understand that the bigger the school, 9 times out of 10, if they haven't already come to you, it's going to be a long shot. So start looking at the smaller schools and going to camps where you may have a mega camp where a few schools are coming, and stay in shape, number one, for sure, and go out, put on a show, and hopefully something to happen. That's not the end all be all. Everybody thinks that, you know, it's D1 or nothing, or if I don't get a scholarship offer, you know, I'm done. No, you're not done. If you really want it, sometimes you have to go the long way. And that means walk on. You know, if you feel like you were, you know, overlooked, go prove it. You know, go pay for that 1 year or 2 years and earn it that way. It doesn't happen for every single person. That's why they say it's a 1% chance of getting a college scholarship. Sometimes you have to go earn it the long way. Nothing wrong with that, because you're going to be satisfied when you get it. So those are just a few things that they should do right now. Stay active on your social media, stay in shape, and, you know, make it happen. And believe.
Now, Coach, what about the guy that hadn't got that offer, that didn't get recruited? Maybe he just hadn't put up the numbers he wanted. But, you know, let's be, you know, size-wise, you know, has the measurables, has flown under the radar a little bit. Scott, you can chime in after this when he's done. What does that guy need to do that he hasn't done? You know, I know that guys send emails, make contacts in certain ways. You talked about social media. but he just hadn't got that buzz yet.
Well, one thing I know for sure is we've been to enough NAIA schools that there are a lot of undersized guys, so you just have to broaden your perspective on where you can actually go play. And it's a ton of go to play NAIA. There's a plethora of schools on there. You can go and look at their rosters, find guys like you, then attack those schools. If they have camps coming up, reach out to those coaches. And again, you have the JUCO route. SAGU is right here in town. You have Texas Wesleyan. You have SNU. You have so many schools, that's within a 100-mile radius that you can go and look at. The key is, though, is guys understand that not everybody is afforded a scholarship full ride coming out of high school. But that does not mean football is over. That means you just have to be strategic in how you go about getting to your dream. So don't let anything stop you. Don't let the fact that I didn't get it now derail you from getting it in the future. It is just put to the side. You still got to work. You still got to go get it, but the opportunities are there. So look at those schools, play NAIA, look at every school that's on there, look for guys your size, your speed, and start reaching out to those coaches. I promise you they're looking. You just have to open up and broaden your perspective, broaden your horizons, and go and attack those schools, and something great to happen.
Scott, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. You can't have the D1 or bust mentality. That's not the mentality you want. And if you're not getting any traction throughout the season or early on, you want to broaden that spectrum on where you're going to go, NAIA, D3, D2. Look at those things. And then, like he said, the mega camps and the showcases in the off season and in the spring and things like that. Stay engaged with those. Go to those. Network with coaches. You never know who's watching and who's going to be there. Just because one coach doesn't like what he sees doesn't mean another one's not going to. So staying there, networking, and staying engaged with coaches and staying in front of people and continuing the self-promotion on social media, on Twitter. That one DM that you send to a coach with your film and your information might be the game changer you've been waiting on. So don't be afraid to do it. Pull the trigger and keep it going.
Now let's talk underclassmen a little bit. They have a little more time. The class 2024, they're really on the clock because most of the 23s, the top guys, have committed. They kind of know where they're going. What do these guys need to do that are flying under the radar? Well, let's talk 24s and 25s because we have some 25s and some 26s that are starting to get, buzz and get offered ahead of some of these older guys. But let's focus on those guys. We already talked about the camp part and stuff. What do they need to do to prepare themselves in the off-season as well?
Marketing. The most important thing is marketing, having that relationship. The key is who are your advocates, whether it's your coaching staff, the community, guys on social media like us. We retweet everything for everybody. I don't care how good you are. There are coaches from all different levels on my page, so I retweet every kid. I don't have really a whole lot of time to kind of look, through and say, hey, I shouldn't do this. But the thing is, too, guys, your social media, I cannot stress how important it is what you market. If you go to the shopping mall, and I'm sure everybody has, and you're walking through the mall, there are stores you're going to go in, there are stores you won't go in based on the presentation. Your social media, your page should be that store you would walk in. If it doesn't mimic that, you shouldn't have it, or you need to go back and fix it, because the presentation is coaches are going to look. If they don't like what they see, guess what? They won't come in. So you have to understand that. So again, marketing, stay in shape, run track. I will always say that if you're not doing basketball, then you should be focusing on indoor track, outdoor track, get your speed up. All of this stuff is based around speed for linemen, for skill, speed, right? Also, too, taking care of your bodies. We have to make sure that you understand how your body works, how to utilize it, when to rest, when to get a massage, all of those things going into college, because there is a shift when you get there, and it can really mess you up mentally because you're going to have a overload of work that you're not ready for if you don't start that process now and early. And guys, stay consistent with your work, your off-season work. Go back, be honest about your film. say, hey, coach, where did I lack? What were my weaknesses? Turn those into a strength. That way, next year on film, they can say, oh, this kid got better. Not just, I want to, look at how good I did and ride that wave, because there's still going to be weaknesses that you have to improve. So be honest about where you are and where you want to go, put it down and go get it.
Now, Scott, us being scouts with Prep Red Zone Texas, well, I see a lot of film each week. Talk about with these guys, these underclassmen, and I'll go back to you with that after Scott. Film-wise, how should they be setting that up as well?
With your film, you want to put your first, I say, 5 to 7 best, most physical, most violent plays up front. The music, take the music out. The coaches don't want to hear that. And then also just use the simple circle indicator to know where you're at before the play begins. Not while the play's happening or after it's already started. Do it before so the coach can track your every move throughout that entire play. He wants to see you. And it doesn't need to be 10 to 12 minutes. Coaches typically are going to watch a minute and a minute and a half, and then they're going to go the next player. If they don't see what they like in that minute, minute and a half, it's on to the next one. So make sure that your first minute, minute and a half is the most impactful plays that you have that show what you're really capable of.
Coach, tackle that just a little bit. Scott, great points. All the things that we try to stress to players, parents, and anybody that's helping you with that. You'll get it out of the gate, right? A minute to 30 seconds, they're not going to look at it longer than that. Sure. If they don't see your splash plays, your biggest plays right out of the gate. For linemen, we want to see how you move. It's great to see your pass set up, see you setting the table. The athleticism has to be there.
Absolutely.
Those are the key things, from a scouting perspective that we're looking at. And then, Coach, you talked about recovery and what you're supposed to do. And then we'll bring Wendy in on this. She's an expert on this, and we're going to get to everything that IBT does here in just a sec. But, Coach, just the recovery part. You spoke about that a little bit. Touch on that, and then Wendy chime in on that.
Absolutely.
So let me go back to what Scott said and what you said. That's very important. We actually, I sent it to them. We actually have a breakdown. So we took the guesswork out of it for you guys. Just reach out to us. We will send you the breakdown for offensive side of the ball, defensive side of the ball, how your huddle should look step by step so you don't have to guess. The most important thing, again, is athleticism. Lineman, can you bend at the hips? Or are you going full speed? Here's the most important thing, too, especially for you underclassmen. Don't get so caught up in just the highlights, because if you've ever seen a movie trailer, the highlight is just an introduction. But once you're introduced, the coaches want to see what? The full movie. So what does that look like? So if you get caught up in saying, hey, if I just get one highlight here, one highlight there, I put together a sellable package, that's not always the case, because what will they see when they see the entire movie? Now, the recovery part is, if I am working out in the morning, practicing at night, when do I need to shut it down, let my body recover? You tear your body down during the workout. You tear your body down during practice, but it's the rest that rebuilds, the nutrition that helps you rebuild. So knowing and understanding what that looks like for each body type is very important. And that's where, again, it pays for you to go and pay someone to help with that, because at the next level, the guys who go on are already understanding how valuable that is. So that's very important, guys. Remember that.
Wendy, talk about recovery just a little bit.
All right, what's up, everybody? My name is Wendy. I am the founder of Integrated Biomechanic Therapy. I run a youth sports therapy program. Just a little background about me. I'm a 15-year personal trainer, 9-year licensed massage therapist. Before that, I served in the military as an aircraft mechanic on the B-52 bombers on the flight line of Minot, North Dakota. During my time as a massage therapist, I ended up spending most of my time really caring for athletes. I was a competitive athlete growing up. I was a competitive athlete as a trainer. I was a state national world record holding power lifter, self-coached for all of that. During all that time, I was really able to see where learning about the soft tissue work, in addition to the strength training, how it all ends up with this incredible synergy of recovery to end up with a smarter and a better athlete long term. I've been fortunate to be able to get into the football arena here in Dallas. I work in Carrollton at American Indoor Soccer Facility, and it's turned into a bit of a mecca of Dallas football, especially for our youth athletes. So I've been very fortunate to get into the football world and being able to care for y'all.
So what should they be focused on coming out of, the season before we get into everything that you do? And you broke it down how you got started, but, touching on what Coach Jay said,
right.
Recovery.
So, okay, when it comes to especially football is above and beyond pretty much any other sport. Nobody, maybe except for rugby, are you really getting hit in the way that you are in addition to your athletic demand, right? So you end up with this two-tiered risk factor of not just playing the sport, but also the contact of the sport. And with sports therapy, you end up being able to address the musculoskeletal imbalances that you get from the actual athletic endeavor, and then you're also able to recover from those really intense hits that end up causing long-term injuries or acute injuries based on your musculoskeletal imbalances. So for all these kids, especially that are really trying to push past high school, really push past into these higher levels, or really just recover and not have long-term pain into adulthood, learning how to care about recovery and learning how to maintain your body is super crucial for long-term. Absolutely.
Well, that's kind of what you want to do. Have a plan, have something in place.
Absolutely.
Underclassmen, seniors, and even, our guys in middle school. You're getting ready for high school. There's a preparation that goes into that as well. We'll take a small break here on the On Your Mark show, proudly sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel from Fishbowl Studios, and we'll be right back, and we're going to dive into integrated biomechanic therapy with Wendy.
Awesome.
Let's go.
What's happening? It's your boy Mark Henry back on the On Your Mark show. Powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. Every play I compete. Do you just wake up and go hard? Be epic. We have a new studio home, Fishbowl Studios. The On Your Mark show is going to bring it to you every Wednesday. Every week we're going to talk recruiting, the best games around the state, and in the DFW. We'll get parents, players, coaches involved right here at Fishbowl Studios. Wednesday from 11 to 12. You can follow us on Facebook at On The Mark Sports, on Twitter at MarkHen44, on IG, Instagram at MarkHen_44. We are epic every week. Check out the On Your Mark show at Fishbowl Studios. We out.
We are back here on the On Your Mark show, live from Fishbowl Studios on the Fishbowl Network. Powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. Every play I compete, I just wake up and go hard. Go to everyplayicompete.com and pick up some of that merch. We're going to be having giveaways and stuff as we progress. But let's dive into IBT, Integrated Biomechanic Therapy. Wendy, as she elegantly spoke a few minutes ago, just told her background of kind of what she does. How important is the therapy aspect to go along with sports? Just you spoke about the movement and everything, from your perspective.
I mean, I would equate the importance of therapy just as important as your training off season, right? Just as important as running track off season, just as important as choosing the right off season sports, the right off season activities. I would equate it just as equal, because if you end up performing all of those things with long-term muscular imbalances and you end up with an injury that takes you out, then what was the point? What was the point? You know what I'm saying? So just as equal, just as important. Absolutely.
Now, specifically, we know that your wheelhouse is with the high school athlete. This is a show that focuses on high school athletics.
Yes, sir.
We talk collegiate and professionally, but how important, is your mission to get these guys, educated at the high school level to have success on the field? And it happens off the field as well.
Absolutely. So one of the most important things that I've noticed is a smarter athlete is a better athlete. So if I'm working with an athlete that understands why their knee is having an issue, they understand why they're doing the exercises I have them do, they understand why they're not doing the exercises I have them do, that athlete is going to be smarter on the field versus someone who's just moving around blind. And being able to understand the movements and the strength training and the elements of adding the sports therapy into that just makes your athlete smarter. And you guys are realizing, we're all realizing, we need brilliant athletes out there. You can't have people out there that don't understand why they're doing and what they're doing. You just can't.
Well, I think it's important, the earlier you start with these kind of things,
For sure.
the better it is, the more success you have. As Coach Jay spoke in the last segment, you have to take care of your body. Your body takes care of itself. That's why, and I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, professional athlete means professional. That means professional in every way, in body,
Absolutely.
mind, spirit, physically. They take care of their bodies, at a rate that you got to learn at an early age. And that's why we have these injuries, these smaller things. The faster guys, the fast twitch guys usually have those intrinsic deep tissue injuries, hamstrings, pulls, and stuff like that more often. So talk about a little bit the programs that you kind of have without getting too in deep. I know you got some things, developing.
That's okay.
But just how you try to design it specifically for the athlete.
So one of the most important things about the sports therapy program that I run is each sports therapy session is calibrated to the athlete of the sport that I'm working with. It's not just a random sports therapy session given by a random sports therapist. It's based on the actual moves of the actual athlete. Because every single sport, every single position is going to have a different biomechanical input, is going to end up with different musculoskeletal imbalances. So if you just have people out there doing random cookie cutter things, you're really not going to be addressing what's going to happen to the actual athlete. And that's what I do. Every single one of my sessions is calibrated to the athlete. And I've been super lucky with our football guys because there's 11 different positions. I can work on each of those positions based on each of their issues, and I've broken down each of those into different athlete reports just based on that experience. So that's what it is that we end up really doing.
Now, we were talking a little bit before we started about playing multiple sports. Coach Jay has kind of hinted that, being an athlete, how important, from a therapy perspective, is the recovery when you play multiple sports. Season to season, sports change. You use different muscles in each sport. The muscle memory is different. So
Absolutely.
how do you kind of gauge that as well?
I mean, that's definitely part of the program. The beautiful part about it is when your athlete is in this program, it's not just random sessions that are happening and then you come back and they're random. They are tracked in a program. So when your athlete comes back for our second session, it's based on that first session. So if 5 sessions down the road, your athlete's going from football to track, now we know, okay, now he's a track athlete, but he's also been a football athlete, and this is what we've been working on for him as a football, because all of that matters. If you forget about all that and none of that actually ends up following the athlete for their protocols and their programs, you miss a huge amount of information and end up with those long-term injuries and imbalances. So yeah, especially when you end up combining multiple sports, because that's an additional input and additional information. Like if someone's going to be playing baseball and football, right? Those are 2 very different sports endeavors. We need to account for that. Yeah, for sure.
Now, what goes along with this is not just about the athlete and younger athletes. We're talking about youth and high school. How do you educate the parents alongside the athletes? Because, myself, Coach Jay, Scott, we all have kids that are, in athletics. So how do you educate the parents as well and kind of bring them along just to kind of, merge them together where they understand exactly what their athlete's getting?
So what's really important about this, the number one point, I can do all the best work that I could possibly do, but your kid needs to be safe, right? Your kid needs to feel safe. Parents are always going to be on premises. They're always going to be supervising the session. We end up actually going through an entire body chart to make sure everybody knows where the muscular care is going to be performed. We go through what protocols are going to be performed for the child. Consent is always given prior to any therapy being started. It's a huge aspect of being able to make sure that a youth athlete is comfortable to receive the muscular care that's going to help them, while ultimately keeping them safe and making sure the parents are around and everybody's cool, so.
Absolutely. I think, education starts at the family level, then it translates. That's the only way you'll be able to get them.
Absolutely.
Their mind, their body, their soul, their attention comes from the family. The parents are very important.
Well, and when the parent really understands why this is so crucial, then they're just more likely to invest. They're more likely to spend the time, because you can even bring your child to see me as much as possible, but it's past that. It turns into self-care education. It turns into being able to, teach your child or keep your child accountable, however parents do that. I know sometimes that's a huge part of it. Parents are just as a big a part of this program as possible, or as their child is. They know everything that's going on. They're there the entire time. No therapy session occurs unless a parent is there.
Absolutely. Now, you're working with a specific area of town with trainers and things that go along. Shout out to my guy Clay Mack. Clay Mack Skills, one of the top DB trainers
Yes.
in the country.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, that's my guy. Shout out to Clay
Yeah,
Mack.
shout out to Coach Mack for sure.
So how do you blend those two worlds together? Because you're kind of hands-on. You're at these particular one-on-one sessions, camp sessions that he does, and you're treating these athletes as they kind of go through the motions coming from the camp or the specific training that they get. How does that work?
So one of the best parts about that is I'm able to take people from turf to table, right? So when I see someone working with somebody like Coach Mack, I'm able to see what imbalances they're dealing with when they're trying to move. He can tell me directly, like, hey, Wendy, we can see our athlete here is having a tough time kicking his foot back in extension. Awesome. I got these moves for him. We take him to the table, tune him up, get him back into his session. Or we're able to at least start his trainings in a way that starts accounting for those imbalances. It's a huge, huge advantage being able to be on site right next to these coaches, because versus the athlete coming to try to tell me, like, oh, Wendy, Coach Mack said a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's like, okay, but we all know when we talk to Coach Mack, like, you're going to get a million things that you need, and from that athlete, they're going to be able to remember maybe two. So when you can be on the field with these experts and on the field with these specialists, then the synergy is palpable, right? Like, they make me better, I make them better, and it all goes into your athletes. Yeah.
Well, definitely, Wendy, we appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you having
this
me.
won't be your last time as well.
I hope not.
We got some bigger fish to fry down the line.
Absolutely, lots of
Tell
them.
everybody where they can find you, find your website, how do they get in touch with you, and also where you performing these things out of that facility that you spoke of.
Absolutely. So you can find me online at intbiomech.com. You can find me at Facebook and on Instagram. I work out of American Indoor Soccer Facility in Carrollton. That's where I'm at right now, but keep a lookout for me because I'm coming.
Well, you're definitely coming. You're part of the Flex Zone family.
I'm pumped,
I vouch
man.
for her.
I'm
She's
so
amazing.
excited, y'all.
She's actually kind of. We're working on some things on the back end with Coach Jay. The Flex Zone one-on-ones are coming
This
up
is the preview.
pretty soon. This is the preview.
The preview.
This
yeah.
is the trailer.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? This is what we do. We're gonna take a small break here on Your Mark Show from Fishbowl Studios, live on the Fishbowl Radio Network. Powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. Every play I compete, I just wake up and go hard. We'll come back and talk a little high school football. We got a few prospects that we'll talk about, a couple of big games from last week, and we'll kind of talk about a few teams that we kind of think are favorites heading into the state playoffs here on the On Your Mark Show.
What's happening? It's your boy Mark Henry back on the On Your Mark Show. Powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. Every play I compete. Do you just wake up and go hard? Be epic. We have a new studio home, Fishbowl Studios. The On Your Mark Show is going to bring it to you every Wednesday. Every week we're going to talk recruiting, the best games around the state, and in the DFW. We'll get parents, players, coaches involved right here at Fishbowl Studios. Wednesday from 11 to 12. You can follow us on Facebook at On The Mark Sports, on Twitter at MarkHen44, on IG, Instagram at MarkHen_44. We are epic every week. Check out the On Your Mark Show at Fishbowl Studios. We out.
Back on the On Your Mark Show, I am Mark Henry here with my co-host Coach Jay, my guy Scott Rapp from Prep Red Zone, and Wendy from IBT. Scott, talk to me. You got a couple of guys this week that we need to spotlight.
Yes, sir. First one was going to be Christian Turner, defensive back out of McKinney Boyd, class of 2024. He's got high awareness, provides great run support on the outsides, physical and great tackler, gets off blocks really, really well when a play's coming to his side. Does a great job of that. Plays tight coverage and uses his leverage real well. Breaks on the ball. Watching his film, I've been talking to the kid for the last 6-7 months, so just watching his film and the way he breaks on the ball, it's quick. He's got good instinct. He also does the work in the classroom, carrying a 3.5 GPA. That's more important than anything I just said, right?
Absolutely.
That goes up top.
Got to build that resume up.
For sure. The second one is going to be Jamari Lay, inside linebacker out of DeSoto, class of 2024. I'm sure you two are familiar with him.
Absolutely.
Very.
Very.
Love the kid. Talk to him all the time as well. He passes the eye test. Has a great frame and build. Super quick as well. Physical. Has a great first step. Shows good patience when reading the play. Not too quick to overreact and over pursue. Stays right there and keeps the man centered right in front of him where he's, physical at the attack. Quick reaction, great closing speed too. I mean, if you get away from him, best believe he's coming right back. He's not going to let you get away that easy. Definitely got a high motor. Again, more important than anything, he's carrying a 3.7 GPA and leading in the classroom as well as on the field.
Definitely, I'm familiar with Lay. He's one of those classic thumpers that they kind of look for the downhill linebacker. He kind of fits what they want to do at DeSoto. They want to funnel everything inside, and those guys can run sideline to sideline and kind of make plays. They got a couple big fellows up front that are kind of space eaters. They kind of play a 4-3 kind of scheme,
yes, sir.
And he fits in it. Also, Booker, his running mate, is definitely a guy.
Absolutely.
Those are two of the best linebackers in the area.
For sure.
Talk about him a little bit, Coach.
I watch these guys practice. Listen, I have the pleasure of being walking distance to the high school, so I get to see them in practice often. Can flat out play. I mean, these guys are amazing. I can actually see Lay backing up to that safety spot at the next level.
Oh, for sure.
If a school wants him, but the speed. And these guys can bend at the hips, great hips, can turn, can run. These are the things you want to know if you really want to see what D1 level guys, look like. You watch their film and say, how they translate from sideline to sideline. Those are the things that coaches are looking for. How fast can you get in and out of your breaks?
Absolutely.
Or your wheels turn and do on film. They can tell. If you're processing and everything is going on around you and you can't anticipate and make it happen if your IQ isn't there. So these guys have very high IQ. They're very athletic, which is always a great thing. And, most importantly, they have that DeSoto dog mentality.
Okay.
They're going to come at you. They're going to come at you all game. There's no quit in them. You got to make them tap out. I don't know if that's even possible. But yeah, those are. I got a ton of pictures.
Absolutely,
those are my favorites to shoot.
Yeah, both. Booker and Lay are two of the better linebackers. They're set up for success over there. We'll get to the game a little bit. They had a tough outing last week, but we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But Turner is a guy that I have seen. Very long, athletic corner. He fits the bill as what you want in a next level corner. Just what Coach Jay's talking about. He has the measurables, but he also gets it done with his footwork. Great feet.
Absolutely.
Great feet.
Real good feet.
And when he plays press, he's got the hands to reroute the receiver off his route, off his axis. That's what you want in the next level corner. Coach Jay, question Scott as well. How is it important that you look at other guys comparable at your position? Because this is what the coaches are evaluating when it comes to recruiting in college. Look at what you're, not ahead of you necessarily, but what does your mold fit? Each level, Division I, NAIA, 1AA, D3, D2, there are certain criteria that you have to meet. Let's just be honest about it when it comes to recruiting.
Absolutely.
You have to look at those things. So, guys, talk about that just a little bit. How you look at your position and how you stack up wise on that.
Me. Yeah. So I would say first thing, guys, speed is always, and that's not for me, that's on the collegiate level. You have 5'9" guys that are playing D1, P5 ball.
But they can run.
But you're talking 4'2", 10'2", and 100 type guys. You're not going to get there if you're 11 flat, 11'2", 10'9", at 5'9". It's probably not going to happen. So the speed kind of compensates for the height issues. These guys are very, very skilled, and even being tall, right? You have, again, guys that are starting shorter that are very fast, but they have very high IQs.
For sure.
Right? At the next level, the IQ is the most important part outside of the speed, right? You won't get on the field if you don't understand how to play the game. If you don't know where to be, how to transition, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to be trusted to get on the field. So starting that process now of understanding, and that's why I always go back to run track. Kids nowadays seem like they're afraid to run. I don't want to lose. It's not about losing. If you want to win scholarship money, you better leverage that with getting faster. And what better way to do that than to say, hey, this is my time. You know, I'm one of the fastest around. I may not be the fastest. Nobody cares about that on the football field.
Right.
Do you have makeup speed?
Right.
And then outside of that, do I have the IQ?
Right.
A whole lot of guys go to school and take them 2 years to get on the field because they don't understand and pick up that system fast enough. So the most important thing is, you know, and back to what you said as far as looking at the other, I think that's kind of hard to do for a lot of kids because it's, some kids have depth perception, you know, issues, and then looking at someone else, do you honestly know that what they're doing, do you know that you're not doing it? Because me training kids, the first thing I say, hey, you're doing this wrong. They're like, no, I'm not. And then I show them on camera, oh, I didn't even know it. So do they even understand themselves first to know that there is a lack? So I don't know if they can honestly look at it and have an honest evaluation of, no, I can't do that. You know what I'm saying? And then let me fix it, right? So those things have to be adjusted first. You know, am I honest with myself in where I am right now and where I can go? And am I honest with saying, this dude is a little bit better than me? Regardless of him being taller or shorter, that guy got it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And where are my weaknesses so that I can turn those, you know, into a strength? And then, again, it's just understanding where you are.
Right.
And that's where I think as athletes, we fall short as coaches sometimes in giving them a true assessment of where we think they are, and then them saying, hey, I either believe that or I don't.
Right.
You know, and then you can't make adjustments if you don't believe there's a weakness.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Sure. I think part of self-evaluation is knowing your strengths and weaknesses. You know, I think part of that, parents, you have to drive that as well. You know, be honest with your athletes. You know, I'll take it from a personal standpoint. Always honest with my kids, what they're doing wrong. And sometimes they get mad at daddy, but, you know, I can come to Coach Jay because he's trained my son before, and I step back and look. I don't say a word, but Coach Jay can say something to it, and I say the same thing, and he understands it. So parents, you kind of have to be educated in that sense as well, and that's kind of what the On Your Mark show is here to provide, is some of those intrinsic things that you need to know from a parent's perspective that you may not know, you know, from guys that are in the game as well. And Scott, just touch on that just a little bit.
Yeah, I was actually going to say earlier, talking about the guys that don't have any offers or anything, going back to the self-evaluation. Have you been doing the legwork that it takes to get yourself in the right position to be offered, to be recruited? Are you just sitting back waiting for it to come to you? Or are you, you know, excelling in the classroom, taking care of your body, you know, your body language on the field? That's one thing I can tell you will turn a coach off.
Say it louder. Say it louder. I see it all the time.
Body language on the field. If you miss a play, that's fine. Next play mentality. You know, we don't get upset and, you know, throw a tantrum on the field. Next play mentality. Keep your body language right. Be respectful.
That's the entire show by itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's coming. I mean, we see it every week, Scott, as well. You know, we're on the sidelines every week. You know, I'm kind of guy that reads body language very well, and I can tell, you know, when a guy's in their head. You know, even some of the bigger guys, you know, when I say bigger, as in, you know, highly rated, highly recruited guys, you can tell, you know, when a guy seems like he's defeated just from the eye test. And, you know, speaking to those things, and you said it earlier, you never know who's watching. Guys like myself who have that pen in my hand. Scott has a pen in his hand. Coach Jay's an evaluator as well. You know, you never know who's watching. And we get asked and get phone calls and get DMs from college coaches, you know, hey, what about this guy? Do you have anybody? You know, you can't refer someone if they're not putting in the work, like Scott said, doing the leg work. Or that, you know, you go to the game and they just have bad body language, or they exhibit bad behavior to, you know, people that are watching. You know, and the DFW area is probably one of the most heavy, saturated for media outside of the big stations or networks, because we all know guys that do this, and the eye's on you for a lot. I think that Dallas, the DFW area has one of the best, cultures for media. Shout out to my guys Weed and Bowes, Ben Spicer, Jeter over at my guy there, Jeter.
Guys.
Yeah,
Great
I mean
guys.
these guys are on it. Geo, Durag, Texas Rank, my guy Hammer, my guys from the Dub podcast. There's a lot of guys out here. Branded ID, my guy Nick DeBose. I'm just naming off a lot of guys. These are guys we can go on and on. So the spotlight is on you more than anything today, and these kind of things get seen, and people start to recognize that. And we're here at the On Your Mark show. We want to give you game and give it to you now, and that's kind of what this show is all about. But let's talk a little football now. We got a big game coming up this week. Let's go back last week. The big game, the marquee game was Duncanville and DeSoto. Duncanville kind of came out and established themselves. Caden Durham, I know you guys have all seen him. I want to talk about him for just a little bit. In the Prep Red Zone rankings, he's probably the number one running back in the class of 2024. The speed is unbelievable. He had a 90-yard run that kind of just took the wind out of DeSoto's sail right at the beginning, and he ended up rushing for over 300 yards and 5 touchdowns on a soggy, rainy night. So if we're indoors, we're talking about a guy that could have gone for 400 or maybe 500 yards. Just a special talent. Scott, Caden Durham, just talk about him a little bit.
Man, the kid, strong runner. Not only is he quick, he's got both benefits of power and speed. And he's a guy that'll bounce it outside and get loose on you real quick. Watching an interview at him, you can tell he's got that body language, that that
confidence,
charisma about him, that he knows what's expected of him. But just a great ball carrier, man. Just you have to watch him. Once you watch him, you'll know why everybody believes in him. I mean, the kid, you can tell he's a leader on the field as well. I mean, he keeps that Duncanville offense right where they need to be.
Coach, now you've seen Durham for a while. This is a guy that's 10-2, 100-yard guy, and the 200 as well. He's a world-class sprinter as well. But he's got the power. He's got everything that you want, the total package. I think right after the game he picked up a Michigan State offer. He's probably got about 15 to 20 offers already, but he's a special talent. Just touch on him just a little bit.
Well, first off, guys, if you really, really want to get recruited and understand what a Power 5 running back looks like, watch him. Flat out. That game against DeSoto alone, if he shows nothing else on his huddle, that's offer material right there. That is how you set up your huddle highlights, what he did in that game. Now, the important part of that game, what I don't think a lot of recruits understand, is when do you show up? When do you have big plays?
Rivalry game.
You can have a big play in the game that you're blowing somebody out. Will that be
top
the
10
same
Yep.
as a rivalry game, top 10 team, or a team that you know is going to come in with the talent to stop you?
Right.
And can you do that against them?
Right.
That's the difference between P5, JUCO, NAIA, things like that. And can you consistently do that? Whether it's good teams, bad teams, great teams. Can you show up consistently? Do they have to scheme to stop you? Do they have to drop 8 in the box to say, nah, we're not going to let, and you still do it?
Yep.
Against powerful teams.
Right.
That kid can get it done.
Right.
Now, all he has to do is continue to grow, continue to understand that next level, just because I do it now, don't mean it's going to be that easy at the next level.
Absolutely.
So
Gotta keep working.
You got to keep growing. Work while you wait. My favorite thing. Work while you wait. But that's what your resume want to look like. If you want to be a serious contender for a running back, a lot of guys will send videos, and their first one is a 10-yard touchdown. I'm like, that's not a highlight. Like you could put a lineman back there and do that.
Right.
With the right blocking scheme.
Yeah.
But can you hit? And get 60 You know, can you hit a corner, turn, bend, and get vertical and then make somebody miss? Those are highlights that's going to make a coach say, okay, wait, I got to see that again. Let me see more, right? But if it's 5 yards in a cloud of smoke, anybody can do that,
Right.
You know. So, and again, he's the epitome of what you want your highlights to look like. And again, you said it, track speed. You know,
Your
and
film
it's
has to have
translatable.
that movie trailer effect. Make me want more. Make me want to see more.
Make me want to see more.
You know, and I tell kids all the time, recruiting's like dating. You got to make people fall in love with you, right?
Where'd you learn that from?
Coach J. one of my biggest mentors, by the way.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's why he's here. He's been like a mentor to myself as well. And,
For sure.
You know, he was one that kind of stepped on the gas. Hey, dude, you need to correct something. This is what you need to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need that push, and
Absolutely.
it's where it comes from. You know what I'm saying? And you know, Durham has it though. You know, back to him. You know, this is not my first consumption of him. I saw him. This is probably like the fourth game I've seen actually.
Yeah.
But you know, I just don't know what else you need to see from him. He's probably
Nothing.
He's one of the top running backs in the state and in his class. You know, and he gets it done. And I think he's a springboard to see where Duncanville goes. You know, into the state playoffs. And we'll close it with this. Kind of give me a pick, Coach Jay and Scott, who you have kind of going into the playoffs as a favorite.
6A?
It doesn't matter. Yeah, 6A's fine.
To win state?
Just to make it there.
Oh,
Yeah,
just
get-
to make that.
yeah,
Okay.
a favorite.
I'll go with Duncanville.
Okay. Scott?
I think North Shore returns.
Absolutely.
That's state, though. North
Yeah.
Shore is more than likely going to win
Yeah.
state. But as far as getting,
yeah.
and I'm just talking this
I think
area.
I think it's going to be, you know, right now we're setting up for a rematch.
Yeah.
The thing that North Shores has for him is right now they had to make a change at quarterback, but Amador seems to be making that adjustment. He's an athlete, and that's what it goes back to. He plays more than one position. You know, he's an all-state, all-conference, whatever you want to call it, receiver, UTSA commit. But he's gone over and taken over for a quarterback, a sophomore phenom in Bailey, who was injured. But they're still physical up front. They're still physical on the defensive side. North Shore and Duncanville are kind of mirror images of each other. The X factor could be Durham this year. I don't think they had that explosion coming out the backfield. They're young at quarterback as well.
Passing game is going to have to.
Something's going to have to
be the
break.
difference.
And that's
gonna
when
be
North Shore beat them last year.
Yeah, that's
sure.
good. And it may even out now with Amador, but the one thing I know about Amador, been knowing him all his life, is
He's a gamer.
He's a baller. Yeah, he can manage the game. His
Right.
IQ is off the charts. He was one of those kids where, you know, parents, I suggest early, if you really want to know where your kid is early, have them play 7-on-7 up, you know, very early. If they're 7th grade, have them play with a 9th grade team, you know, just to see if they can fit it, you know, just to see. Amador used to come to the park, you know, when we would do trainings with Michi, with the seniors, with Lil D, you know, playing against my guys, and he was in the 8th grade, you know, and getting reps.
Right.
And getting really good reps. So
Right.
he wasn't phased, you know, when it came time for him to go to state as a freshman. Like, I've been there.
Right.
These guys beat
moment
me up all
wasn't
the
too
time.
big
Right.
for
It
him.
wasn't too big
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that may kind of even it out a little bit.
Yeah.
The passing attack, because I still think that's what's keeping Duncanville from winning the whole thing.
Yeah.
Not being consistent on the passing game. You know, the defense has always been solid, but being able to throw the ball. But I'll throw another one in. I've watched them this year. Lancaster, I think, has a
Solid.
really, man, look.
Longview, and
Long-
that's
man,
looks
look.
like this is a crash course coming.
That game,
We'll be there.
listen.
Gotta go.
yes.
So my team from the DFW, I think that'll return and make another great run, is Denton Geyer. But I think this year they pull it
Hands
off.
down.
hands down.
I think
Hands
they
down.
pull it
Hands
off.
down.
I think they come
Yeah.
out
Hands
with
down.
the victory
Yeah.
in
Hands
state
down.
this year.
Yeah,
They're playing
Jackson
some
Arnold's
amazing-
playing
yeah,
out of
yeah.
this world.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I happened to see them against Alito
I don't see
in
them
week
getting
2.
beat.
No, I said they were going back to state. You know, Peyton Bourne, Eli Bourne, Yates on the back end.
Yeah, I
you know,
don't see them getting beat.
Landon
Yeah.
Sides.
Yep.
If you don't know that name by now, Landon
You better
Sides.
look him up.
Number
Oh,
7.
my
He
God.
committed to Infinite Word.
Yep.
honestly, I think he's probably going to get. He probably has his inbox flooded.
Here's the thing with
yeah.
that. Let me stop you real quick. Here's the thing with that, guys, and let me say this real quick. Amazing talent, but he's going where the value is. Recruiting never stops from high school to college. If he goes to, in coined word, he's probably going to break records. Guess what happens? The big dogs will still come get him.
Right.
So the key is don't get frustrated. Go where you can extend your play time.
Where you
a lot
fit.
of guys finish high school
the perfect
and
fit.
never play
Right.
ever again.
Right.
Do you not realize that colleges have JV football?
Yes.
Right.
Colleges have practice players.
That's a whole nother show.
That's a whole nother show. But I say that to say, the kid is going to go and be amazing, and coined word just stole one.
Just stole one.
You
They
can't
stole
develop
one.
sitting. You can't develop sitting on the bench.
No,
Absolutely.
You got to be
You
on
gotta
the field
go-
playing.
on the field.
got to go play.
Yeah.
And he's going to go, and the coined word is going to say, "Oh man, thank God," and then somebody else going to say, "Yeah, thank you." Come on.
Absolutely.
We just need to see just a little more.
Just a
and that's
little
the thing. They just want to see just a little more.
That's it.
Can you continue to do it? And sometimes guys develop later. I think he's developed now, but hey, it is what it listen.
Well, I think that he's definitely got a high ceiling. He hadn't reached his ceiling, and it's a guy.
And you don't
I saw
want
that
to
can.
now.
Yeah, you don't want to.
You don't want to reach
You
the
want
ceiling
to.
now. Because where do you have to grow?
Right.
Yep.
Right.
You have nowhere else to go.
Absolutely. Well, that'll be it for this week on the On Your Mark Show. Follow us on Facebook at On The Mark Sports. Powered and sponsored by Every Play I Compete, everyplayicompete.com. It's Every Play I Compete on Facebook. Iron sharpens iron. You see it. Get some of that gear. We're going to be having some giveaways. But this is the portion of the show where Big Hen speaks. Time is all you have. Your value in your time, use it wisely. RIP to take off from the Migos. Tragic ending to his life, but use your time while you have it. I think that as a black man, my life is always spiraling in a certain direction. I hate to see young black men lose their lives. He was only 28 at a young age. He had a lot to live for. Take your time wisely. Use your time wisely. Use your time to go in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? If it's work, if it's school, if it's athletics, if it's therapy, those are the things that you need to do. Incorporate your time, use it wisely, focus on it. We'll be back next week here on Your Mark Show from 11 to 12 live from Facebook on the Fishbowl Radio Network, powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. I just wake up and go hard. Go and compete. Be great. We'll see you next week. Mark Henry, Coach Stephon Johnson, Wendy, and my guy Scott Rapp. We're out.
What's happening? It's your boy Marc Henry back on the On Your Mark Show. Powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. Every play I compete. Do you just wake up and go hard? Be epic. We have a new studio home, Fishbowl Studios. The On Your Mark Show is going to bring it to you every Wednesday. Every week we're going to talk recruiting, the best games around the state, and in the DFW. We'll get parents, players, coaches involved right here at Fishbowl Studios. Wednesday from 11 to 12. You can follow us on Facebook at On The Mark Sports, on Twitter at MarkHen44, on IG, Instagram at MarkHen_44. We are epic every week. Check out the On Your Mark Show at Fishbowl Studios. We out.